Hello and welcome to the thumb-powered keyboard from digitisemylife.com. This keyboard lets you enter all the character set, symbols, foreign characters just using your two thumbs. It's a much better position for your hands. You don't have to move your fingers around the display, and you have a clear indication of the text that you're entering. So, to begin with, the most common letter in European languages, and certainly in English, is E, so that's where we start, at the top left-hand corner. And you can see as I press that the key is highlighted and then is entered into the display. So you should also be able to see that via the attached picture clip. So the next letter is T, and that is the most common first letter in words, certainly in English and in most European languages. So that's conveniently just underneath the E. And then lastly, on the left hand side is the letter A, which is also a very common letter and often used on its own. So moving to the right hand side, we have the S is on the top right, and the S character is a common word ending, so it's quite natural that it's opposite the letter E, or that it's on the right hand side, representing the end of words. And then the next letter down is the O, and the O forms an aid to remember many of the other key combinations, so it's a central important letter here in this position here, right under the right thumb, in the centre of the display on the right. And then finally we have the space key, which is probably used more often than E when typing text, and this area is used for punctuation as well, so we can put in a full stop. Not in a great position, so we'll just delete some of those. So you can see how delete works as well, just by sliding across the keyboard. So now we can eat toast, we can taste tea. But really, so far this is just a T one. Let's look at the letter P. So for P, we're going to use the O shape of the P, which is like the O here. So if you think of the two sets of thumb pads, the right and left hand side, think of them close together. Think of making a P with the O, and then the tail would come down. If it was on a slight slope, the tail would come down to there. So we got those two together would make us a P. So you got your O shape of the P, and then the tail there down at the bottom left. So we can do what can we do? We can do pop, we can do pat, we could do tap, and what about longer one, paste. No, so doesn't get us very far. Let's move on to B. Well, B is the P the opposite way up, so if you think of the round base of the B as being the O again, and then sloping the opposite way, the tail would be up here, so the two together would give us B. So we can do bap, we could do bat, and we could do baste. Okay, the letter D is really just a B flipped over onto the other side, flipped around the horizontal axis. So let's go on to the letter D. So D, we've moved the O to the opposite side, would be over there. The tail, again, up at the top with the opposite side, that would make the tail. We can do dad, we can do dos, we could do toad. Let's put a full stop in. Let's move on next to the L. The L, we think of a capital L, it's this sort of shape, so if we begin at the end of the L, thinking of the T keys close together, we end up with L. It's a lowercase l, but think of capital L when you press those two thumb pads. We could do lad, we can do load. The opposite of L is the F. Think of the L as the F as being the L other way up. So you think of the start of the F here, the end of the F there. We obviously have to miss out the middle stroke in a normal capital F, but there you think of the F. If the pads were close together, that would be an F shape. We can do fade. We can do fast. And again, we can put the full stop in. The full stop is the space pushed into the centre as if you're making a point. As a reminder. So let's move down. Let's look at two more letters. Let's look at the N and the U. So for a N shape, if you think of a lowercase n, it comes up and down. So if the two keypads were close together, we're not going to use the bottom ends of the N, we're going to use the top because that's the characteristic shape it's going to make. So it's these two, it's the middle two letters joining the top of the N together. So we can do fan, we can do not. Now let's look at the letter U. U is simply the N upside down, so the characteristic of the U is the bottom two here. Just press those two together and we get the U shape. So the U we can do but, we could do bus, we can do tuba. How about the letter V? V is very, very similar to the U. V is like a U. It's those two together. Starts exactly the same way. It's like a U with a dot at the bottom to make it a sharper point, like a full stop. So we combine the full stop and the U, or think of it bringing the U to a point. So it's the two U thumb pads, the right one pushed in to make the V. So we can do veil. Sorry, no, we want that to be veil, don't we? We can do veil. We can do lava. We can do viva, except I haven't told you how to do the I yet, but we'll move on to that. First of all, though, I want to do the letter H. H is very much like the letter N. So it starts the same way as the letter N, the top of the N shaped, but it's got a tail that moves upwards. So let's move that left-hand side up to make a H shape, just like it would be if you were writing it compared to an N. So there we have the H. Let me do that again. Both those two keys, move the left one up. You see the keypad colour changes. We've got the H. So with the H we can do help, help the hapless. Okay. Next off we want to do the I. So do we do the I? So I is just the left hand side, just a downstroke just as you would do an ordinary I. So just left hand side of the keyboard, press the middle one, release. Press the middle one, go down one small stroke and release inside. So it's I. So like I say, inside would be in side. Let's see, line, inside line. The J, well, you can guess is the opposite side, so the J is there, just the opposite to the I with the downstroke. So we can do joust. Moving on, if we remember the N and the U and the V, well, the W and the M are related, so W is just like the V, or like two V's, so we start the same way, to the U, convert it into V, add another sign to make the two V's together make a W, so it's a two together W, simply like that. So with the W we can do what, we can do when, we could do whether, so I haven't showed you the R yet, but we'll get onto that as well. So the M is just a W the other way up, just like an N with 2 points makes an M, so just like the start, just like the N, go in to make points just like you do with the W, gives you the M character. With the M we can now do mat, we can now do man, we can now do main. And I want to finish that off with a unrelated one, which is the letter C. So the letter C, we're going to again make it out of the O because it's almost an O, but this time we're not really making a point, we're taking a bit out of the O. Think of removing a piece of the O to make a C. So we start off with O, we remove a little bit to make a C. So now we can get to cat, and we can get to count, simple as that.